The union representing striking Canada Post workers is backing down on a nationwide strike, turning instead to a different tactic as the labor dispute drags on. Good afternoon. Canada Post mail delivery set to get moving again tomorrow, but there's still no deal in sight.
The union representing striking postal workers has announced it is switching to a rotational strike as negotiations continue. CTV's Beth Macdonell is live this afternoon at a letter processing plant in the East End with the very latest. Bring us up to speed, Beth.
Yeah, Michelle, Nathan, the big news for customers is Canada Post workers will be moving mail and parcels once again. The strike isn't over, though. It's just changing. So starting tomorrow, CUPW, the union representing 55,000 employees, is doing rotating strikes. That means one postal station or a group of letter carriers or a processing plant will take turns going on strike. Could be in Toronto one day and it could be in New Brunswick another. Just over 2 weeks ago, the federal government allowed Canada Post to make changes to the business before a deal was reached with the union. This latest move caused workers to walk off the job, the union says. This change to a rotating strike will cause more trouble for management and vice presidents, but the important thing is the mail will be moving once again.
What Canada Post is presenting to the government is unacceptable. There's many questions to be asked. We are asking those questions, and more are coming out, and we had to go on a nationwide strike, but now it's time for us to deliver that mail and get those parcels moving and continue on serving our customers.
Last Friday, Canada Post tabled new offers to the union, which included provisions around expected job cuts. The union says it is reviewing those offers and will respond shortly. Reporting live, I'm Beth Macdonell. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. We turn our attention overseas now. The Israeli military says a ceasefire agreement with Hamas came into effect at noon local time today, and that troops are withdrawing to agreed upon deployment lines. It's a big step towards ending the two-year war in Gaza. For more on this, we bring in CTV's Kamal Karamali. Kamal, tell us more.
Michelle, there's a lot more hope on the ground now in Gaza and in Israel as the ceasefire came into effect 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and a lot of movement already happening on the ground in Gaza. We've seen thousands and thousands of Palestinians move from the south. You can see a time lapse here going north back to Gaza City, a city that once had a population of about 1 million people. Now mostly just rubble. A lot of people will be returning to nothing but rubble and rock in what used to be their homes. Meanwhile, we've also heard that Israeli forces have completely withdrawn from parts of Gaza, according to the U.S. and Israel. The Israel military saying there are troops stationed at a line of agreement, which will leave it in control still of about half of Gaza. Now, here's what we know about the first phase of the U.S. brokered ceasefire framework that came into effect today. It's a 20-point plan, but what we're seeing today is just the first phase. It includes the release of 48 Israeli captives in Gaza, including 20 that are still believed to be alive. Trump has said that the Israeli captives will be released either Monday or Tuesday. There has been a deadline put on Hamas to release those hostages by Monday noon. It also requires Israel to pull back its troops to an agreed-upon line. In exchange, Israel will release and has agreed to release 250 Palestinians that have been kept in Israeli prisons and an additional 1,700 detainees. Part 3 of this is allowing humanitarian aid to flow into Gaza. We know that the UN agency or a UN agency has declared a famine back in August. There's been reported deaths of due to starvation as a result of it. There's been a desperate need for resources, food, water in the Strip. And now, as part of this agreement, Michelle, we'll see or likely see about 600 humanitarian aid trucks come in daily to Gaza, a much-needed reprieve for Palestinians.
That is a big development. We know with ceasefires they can be precarious. How confident are observers that the ceasefire will hold? Yeah, this one feels a little different, but ceasefires, as you mentioned, are precarious, so there's no guarantee that this one will hold, but it is seeming to have a lot more foundational support than the other ceasefires that we've seen in the past 2 years or so. Have a listen to what Mark Carney had to say in terms of
Canada's support in ensuring that aid gets into Gaza as part of making sure the ceasefire is maintained. Have a listen.
It's been difficult to provide actual humanitarian, but pre-positioned $400 million worth of humanitarian aid for Gaza and are ready to do more.
Of that, we've also seen a multinational force of about 200 troops that will be overseen by the U.S. military. These troops are from Qatar, the UAE, from Turkey as well, that will be on the ground to make sure that both sides maintain the ceasefire and don't break the rules of agreement so that negotiations can move forward. So it's looking like if all those pieces remain in play, that we might see some lasting peace, Michelle.
Lasting peace. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much, CTV's Kamal Karamali, live in the National Newsroom. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And we have lots more news in a moment, but let's take a live look at the city this afternoon. It is Friday, heading into the Thanksgiving long weekend, and we have beautiful sunny skies, a little bit more October-style weather, and also there's a big game on Sunday as well. Lots to look forward to. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison with the current conditions. What are you seeing, Lindsay?
Well, Michelle, we've been pretty lucky when it comes to weekends in the fall season so far, but this weekend forecast is a little more complicated. I'll show you why in just a moment. But yeah, we're doing not bad right now. It is 14 degrees warmer than we were at this time yesterday, even though it was another chilly start. Part of the reason for that is we've got southerly winds this time, so that's ushering in some milder air. We've got some sun out there blending with a little bit of cloud. That cloud cover is going to increase as the day goes on. And then here is what is putting a bit of a snag in our long weekend forecast. We've got this upper low that has developed, and now it looks as though we are going to get some wet weather, at least for part of the long weekend. Today at a glance, though, it looks pretty good. 18, the forecast daytime high. Technically, temperature-wise, we are going to remain at or above seasonal over the next few days, but we will talk about when you might need the umbrella coming up. For now, though, Michelle, back to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. An 11-year-old killed in an arson last month is being remembered today as her family gathers for her funeral.
Rosa died in hospital after she was pulled from a fire at her home in Richmond Hill. CTV's John Musselman is live at the house where a memorial to the young girl and her family remains. John.
Well, Nathan, yes, the fire did happen in the home behind me last month. At first, we'll show you some video this morning. At about 10:30 this morning at the Aurora Cemetery, there was a service for the 11-year-old girl who family members identify as Rosa. Family and friends gathered at the cemetery to say goodbye to this young girl. They placed roses on the casket. We also heard them play the song, My Sunshine, My Only Sunshine. This is all related to, as we mentioned, this deadly fire in Richmond Hill last month, which York Regional Police are now investigating as an arson. The 11-year-old girl's 24-year-old aunt was also killed in this fire. 3 family members were taken to the hospital. They are since recovering. This is an ongoing investigation. Here at the home, there is a small memorial wrapped around a tree with candles and teddy bears. At the time of this fire, a red gas can was found near the location of the fire. Now, York Regional Police are saying very little about potential suspects here. They just say that it is an ongoing investigation, and anyone with information about this fire is asked to contact them. Reporting live in Richmond Hill, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. A fire has damaged a landmark building in downtown Lakefield. The fire broke out in the building that houses the Kawartha Home Hardware on Queen Street. No injuries were reported, but the Selwyn Township Fire Department calls it a significant structural fire. Queen Street may be closed for a few days. The fire marshal's been called in to investigate.
Police say a man found dead in Etobicoke has now been deemed the city's 33rd homicide victim of the year. Monday evening, officers responded to a business near Vulcan and Iron Streets in an industrial area in Rexdale. They've identified the victim as 35-year-old Derek Chung of Brampton and say his body was located at his workplace. 36-year-old Leonard Emptage of Georgetown was arrested the following day. Police say he and Chung were co-workers. He was charged with improper or indecent interference with a dead body and second-degree murder.
Police believe alcohol was a factor in a crash this morning in the West End involving a car and a TTC bus. The CTV News chopper was over the scene on Royal York Road and Delroy Drive, just north of the Queensway, where the vehicles collided. It happened just after 5:30 this morning. Police tell us the driver of the car, a man in his 20s, was arrested for impaired driving. No word on whether anyone was injured.
2 firefighters have been injured after a tractor-trailer crashed into a fire truck on the 401 west of Port Hope. Police say it happened around 2:30 in the morning in the westbound lanes at Newtonville Road. At the time, a fire truck was blocking a live lane of traffic because of an earlier collision. The firefighters were inside their vehicle at the time of the crash. Police say their injuries are considered non-life-threatening and charges are pending.
Provincial police made a surprising discovery after pulling over a driver for speeding in Burlington. OPP say they stopped a 60-year-old man on the 407 Wednesday afternoon, clocked at a speed of 144 kilometers an hour. Sergeant Kerry Schmidt tells CTV News it was then determined the driver was out on the road with a license that's been suspended since 1985, not to mention 20 convictions of suspended driving. The Toronto man now faces more charges. He was turned over to neighboring police services under an outstanding warrant.
Statistics Canada has released the employment numbers for the month of September. The agency says employment increased by 60,000 or 0.3%, bringing the employment rate up by 0.1 percentage point. The industries pulling the weight were manufacturing, healthcare and social assistance, and agriculture. The unemployment rate remains unchanged at 7.1%.
A new Angus Reid poll finds that most Canadians are not confident a trade deal with the U.S. is on the horizon. 67% think the recent camaraderie between President Trump and Prime Minister Carney is just optics and won't lead to actual progress in ending the trade war. 1 in 5 hope it's a good sign of a good deal to come. In July, 46% were confident Canada would get a good deal, but that has now dropped to 35%. The majority of those who aren't confident cite Trump's unpredictability and not Carney's handling of the situation. The Prime Minister made an announcement from his Ottawa riding of Nepean today, outlining 3 new affordability measures Canadians can expect from the upcoming fall budget. For more on this, we're joined by CTV's Jeremy Sharon, live in the nation's capital. Jeremy, the PM's announcement is about cutting costs. What did he actually announce today?
Yeah, exactly, Nathan. Look, this is all, as you've touched on, centered around affordability. 3 key measures the Prime Minister rolled out today. The first being the automatic filing of taxes for some Canadians. The second being making the National School Food Program permanent. And the third, extending or renewing, if you will, the Canada Strong Pass. We'll go through all of these briefly. The first being the automatic tax filing. This is something that has long been talked about and was a campaign promise of this government. And so they're following through on that promise, ensuring that up to 5.5 million Canadians as of 2026 will have the ability to have their taxes filed automatically. This will give the CRA the power for some low-income Canadians to automatically file their taxes. And the government says the reasoning for this is to ensure that these Canadians are getting access to some of the federal programs that they have the right to access, things like the childcare benefit, the GST or HST credit. So it's about ensuring that money that these people are owed, they are actually getting it. That's what the government is saying. The second is making the National Food Care Program or the National School Food Program permanent. This is something that was announced last year, $1 billion over 5 years for this food program, but the government is committing to making it permanent. This provides access to food for roughly 400,000 kids, the government says, and it can save the average family, according to the government, about $800 a year. That's the average family with 2 kids. The government's also pledging to expand the program, work with provinces, territories, Indigenous groups to try and get the program into more schools. And then the third thing here is really about driving the Canadian economy and tourism within our own country. This is an initiative that was launched last year. And it's called the Canada Strong Pass. It was launched during the campaign last year, really promoting Canadians to spend time here at home rather than traveling abroad. And so providing a discount for parks across the country, access to museums. Also roped in there is a discount for students using Via Rail, trying to come home from school. And so what the government is doing is extending that program through the holiday season and for next summer as well. So anybody anybody who has accessed any of those benefits, students coming home during the holiday season will be able to get 25% off via rail passes. So 3 programs that aren't exactly new, but the government following through, Nathan, on some of the promises that it made during the campaign.
All right, CTV's Jeremy Sharon live in the nation's capital. Thank you.
Anytime.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is in Richmond Hill, where he blamed the Liberals this morning for causing the affordability crisis.
So why is it that the price at the grocery store keeps going up? It is because our Liberal government is destroying the purchasing power of our money. They are printing cash to pay for their out-of-control spending. More money bidding on fewer goods equals higher prices. It is because of the Liberal money printing that you cannot afford food, that you cannot afford a home. I call it the inflation tax. Inflation tax, which is robbing you of the purchasing power of your money. We are going to cut back on the spending on bureaucracy, consultants, corporate handouts, and other wasteful spending so that we can stop printing money.
Poilievre is vowing to end all taxes on home building. He says they represent the single biggest cost for a new home. The Tory leader says getting rid of taxes would mean the average home would cost about $200,000 less across Canada, about $300,000 less in the GTA.
A Venezuelan opposition leader is this year's winner of the Nobel Peace Prize.
The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 2025 to Maria Corina Machado.
Machado is being recognized for her struggle to achieve a democratic transition in the South American country. The Nobel Committee says the former opposition presidential candidate is a key unifying figure in the once deeply divided opposition to President Nicolas Maduro's government. Machado says she's humbled and grateful.
This is a movement. This is a achievement of a whole society. I am just, one person. I certainly do not deserve this.
Machado believes freedom for her country and peace for the region is very close. She was set to run against Maduro in last year's presidential election, but the government disqualified her. Well, back here, the OPP is conducting a Thanksgiving safety blitz, cracking down on unsafe driving on the province's roads and highways this long weekend.
This is not just a provincial police campaign. This is actually part of the Canadian Association Chiefs of Police all across Canada. Anywhere you're going this weekend in the country, you're going to be seeing officers out there looking at those high-risk driving behaviors. We talk about it all the time. Speeding is the #1 killer of the Big Four. We've had 269 people die already this year. 59 of those were because of aggressive driving or speeding. We also have distraction and inattention right there behind it.
The OPP is also reminding people heading up north to be safe around the water, including wearing life jackets when swimming or boating. And if your long weekend plans include heading to Kitchener-Waterloo Oktoberfest, Metrolinx is adding trains on the Kitchener line tomorrow to get people safely to the festivities. And a heads up, GO trains will run on a Saturday schedule on Monday. The TTC is implementing a number of seasonal service changes on Sunday, so riders may want to check their routes in advance. It'll be running on a Sunday schedule on Thanksgiving Monday.
And on Thanksgiving Monday, most grocery stores, pharmacies and malls will be closed, as well as all banks, libraries and government offices. Same goes for all beer stores and LCBO locations. And if you do have some shopping needs, some malls will be open for business, including Eaton Centre and Square One, and several attractions will be open as well, notably the Toronto Zoo, the Art Gallery, the ROM, Ripley's Aquarium and the CN Tower. And as part of Thanksgiving celebrations this year, for many, many Blue Jays fans, that will include watching the start of the American League Championship Series.
The Jays will learn later today who their opponent will be. CTV's Raheem Ladani's live at Rogers Centre with more from fans. And Raheem, Seattle or Detroit, does it even matter?
No, it doesn't matter, Nathan. The Jays have a winning record against both those teams, so you know we're going to take it. There's no stress over there. I got some new information, though, to share with our viewers to help plan your Thanksgiving weekend. We now know what time Game 1 of the ALCS will be played here at the Rogers Centre. The first pitch will fly at 8:08 p.m. on Sunday. Now, for Game 2, it's still unclear. It's going to depend on some of the other games tonight, but what we do know is the first pitch will be between 4:30 and just after 5 p.m., so you can plan Thanksgiving turkey around around those game times. Now, some of you maybe are very lucky to get tickets to the games, either game 1 or game 2, but a lot of other fans, they really struck out. At one point during the process when they went on sale yesterday, there were more than 100,000 people in the queue, and here are some ballpark figures on what tickets are going for based on the seating chart. The lowest still coming in at $400, while the prime seats a staggering $2,000 per ticket. Now, if you can't be inside the ballpark, the City of Toronto is organizing free watch parties for all of the games at David Pico Square, and we've been speaking with a lot of fans about their experience buying tickets. Have a listen.
We paid like $3,000 for our tickets.
For total?
Yeah.
So you guys got good seats then?
Yeah, section 125, I think it's right behind the place. I think it's the experience more than anything else. Like when the city is kind of alive like this, it's hard not to want to be a part of it.
Set the alarm for 9:30, get into the queue, 9:45, 50,000th in line, have a couple windows open for Game 7, Game 1, and thankfully I scored one ticket for Game 7, like right up high.
How was it buying tickets? How was the experience?
It's not me, it's my friend who is Canadian, because I'm French and I can buy with my credit card because Ticketmaster block international credit card. Only Canadian and American can buy tickets, so he buy for me. And he told me it was really hard to get one.
Now, the Jays do have a couple questions to answer going into the next season. What's the status of Bo Bichette? Will he be ready to lend the team a hand in any sort of way? What about the starting rotation? Do they add Bassett or Scherzer to the mound, or do they say, no, we stick with what we got and what led us here? Keep in mind that this is now going to be a best-of-7, not a best-of-5 series. The Jays will find out who they play between the Seattle Mariners and the Detroit Tigers when those two teams play later tonight. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Raheem. Okay, so we're cheering on the Blue Jays this weekend. You know what's something else we should maybe be doing? Enjoying the fall foliage. Colors are starting to change on many trees around the GTA now. We are perhaps past peak in some parts of the north, so that's something to keep in mind. In fact, leaf fall is starting to happen as well. Speaking of cottage country, this is a big weekend for many to head north and maybe close up the cottage for the season. Here's a look at what you can expect over the next 3 days, depending on what region you are headed to. It is a little bit of a complicated long weekend forecast. Coming up, we'll show you when we are most likely to encounter some wet weather here at home after the break on CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
All right, to the forecast. It's Friday. A lot of us already thinking about the long weekend and our plans for Thanksgiving.
It is amazing how much the Jays game is now sort of tweaking some people's plans, but now we have that 8:08 evening start time, so that helps people plan at least a little bit.
Yeah, if only we had tickets, right?
Yeah.
And many of us will be watching from home, and that's okay, cheering them on. We have some interesting weather now for the long weekend. You know, a couple of days ago, this was looking like a perfectly sunny, dry, long weekend. Things have changed a little bit. There's a couple of disturbances that we're going to watch to potentially bring us some wet weather tomorrow, and then again maybe into the day on Monday. So let's get to everything you need to know to help you plan further. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. We've got sunshine out there, but hey, we also had a bit of frost in places this morning. This was Riverdale area, our CTV News chopper capturing it on the grass there. Of course, it has likely melted in most places now. The sun rising, and it's already a bit warmer right now than it was at this time yesterday. We are on our way to a forecast daytime high of about 18 degrees today. So it is a nice day. Slowly but surely, we are going to see a bit of an increase in cloud cover as this day goes on. And then by tonight, into a few showers. So let's begin there with a look at the satellite and radar. Here's what's coming. Again, all is dry for now and will be for a good portion of the day. But this is an upper low that developed mostly yesterday. And as it sinks south toward us here in the lower Great Lakes, we can see how it rotates. It will bring some wet weather to some places. but it's not going to be a washout. And that's what makes this forecast actually a little bit complicated. So latest model run shows that we get into some showers, especially as we move past the midnight hour. And then waking up for your Saturday, likely some periods of rain in the morning. Afternoon, it's a possibility again, but look how many areas look to remain dry. I would keep the umbrella handy for your Saturday afternoon. It appears to be a somewhat cloudy day, followed by some clearing. And then Sunday has the potential for showers. We'll call it about a 30% chance at this point. But there's midday, so sun blending with cloud once again. And then Monday, for now, it looks like a dry day, but we're watching another low pressure system that's making its way up the U.S. eastern seaboard. And that one could spill over into parts of southern Ontario. So right now, your Monday looks dry, but that could change depending on the track of that low. We're at 15 degrees right now in Toronto. It has been a little bit cooler the last couple of days, but today we are above seasonal. 15 is the norm for this time of year for a daytime high. We've still got several hours of daytime heating to go. If you're perhaps brave enough to hit up a patio, and I don't discourage it, why not? We may as well enjoy while the weather is still pleasant. Here's a look at what you can expect. Partly cloudy skies, temperatures in the teens. Overnight tonight, this is warmer than the last couple of nights, 12 degrees. There's tomorrow, so 16 for the high, still on the warm side of seasonal. In fact, we will be right through the weekend, near or slightly above seasonal. There's Thanksgiving Monday, again, variable cloudiness, watching for the possibility of wet weather. And then we're pretty dry through the middle part of next week. Looks like a little bit of a cool down midway through on about Wednesday. That's the forecast for now. Michelle, I'll send it over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Well, a new exhibit is coming to the ROM, offering a deep dive on sharks, and it looks at how the animals have captured the popular imagination while also examining the latest research on the ancient aquatic creatures. CTV's Jessica Smith is live this hour at the museum with more on what visitors can expect. It's a busy weekend, Jess, and I think love sharks or hate them, they're just fascinating.
From the baby sharks, to the megalodons, they truly have everything here, Michelle, and it is just so cool. It opens to the public tomorrow, but there's people getting a bit of a preview today. But there is just something about sharks, again, like you mentioned, whether you are a little afraid or you think they're really cool, they are just so fascinating. I'm joined now by Nathan. So talk to me about why you wanted to bring this exhibit here to the ROM. Obviously, sharks are cool. A lot of folks know Shark Week, but we have it here now in the city of Toronto.
Yeah, well, sharks loom large in the human imagination, and they're a particularly relevant story here in Canada now with the increased presence of sharks off the Atlantic seaboard, with the history of advocacy for sharks here in Toronto and the ban on shark fin soup. Sharks are a Canadian story. They're part of Canadian natural heritage. And here at ROM, we really wanted to tell that story. We do a lot of natural history research, and here in the exhibition, we can see the bowfin guitarfish, the whale shark. We've got a life-size whale shark model, megalodon. We talk about ancient sharks and just the diversity, the spectacular diversity of modern sharks.
So let's do a little bit of a walkthrough because it really is super cool. I want to talk to you about the different types of teeth because I learned a little something today that there are different types of shark teeth and they're not all those jagged ones that you're used to kind of seeing in the movies.
Yeah, I think most people are used to the cutty type teeth, the steak knife like teeth that great whites have for taking bites out of large prey, but there are grabby teeth, there are smashy teeth, and there are some sharks with almost no teeth at all. So like the whale shark is a filter feeder. It doesn't really bite, it just ingests whole small prey and filters them out with its gills. So here in this display, we've got some of the smashy teeth that crunch down on hard-shelled prey like crabs and bivalves, and then grabby teeth for slippery or small prey that a shark doesn't want to let get away, but they're not going to be able to cut up, so they've got to swallow whole.
I didn't know there was so much to do with teeth. And there's a really cool interactive section at the back where people can get hands-on as a hammerhead. Explain that part to me.
Yeah, so we've got a video game-like interactive called Hunt Like a Hammerhead, where you can manipulate the movement of a hammerhead shark with just your hands. And by moving your hands to the left and right and clenching your hands into a fist, you can manipulate the shark and go hunt for squid and stingrays.
It really is so cool, and I love that you're able to come here and get a little bit hands-on, but you can also learn something. For folks coming down this weekend, what can they expect? Because I know it's a busy one with Thanksgiving going on, but what can folks expect? Can they still come down and check things out?
So we're shocked by the amount of demand. This weekend it's starting to actually sell out. So Saturday's already sold out, but we've got the exhibition on for several months until March 22nd and all the way through ROM holidays and March break. So in the weeks to come, days to come, by all means, come on down and see this exhibition. We've got life-size models. In addition to Hunt Like a Hammerhead, we've got these interactive quiz games where you can test your knowledge of sharks. And then just movies, this panoramic wall, almost like an IMAX scale display of sharks from Shark Week.
Listen, sharks for days. Thank you so much. We're going to send things to break. We'll have more news and weather coming up right after this. We're going to go look at some sharks. Thank you.
Thank you.
An Ontario hospital is conducting a promising trial that involves a new way to treat kidney cancer.
As health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, it's already been proven successful in treating other forms of cancer.
Currently, the standard therapy if kidney cancer hasn't spread is surgery. So either taking the whole kidney out or just the tumor and leaving and just a portion of the kidney itself.
Dr. Derek Kuhl says kidney cancer can affect younger patients with a genetic predisposition to it, but generally patients are older, and it's been associated with things like diabetes, obesity, and high blood pressure.
So it's one of the few cancers where we're actually seeing an overall rise over time in our population.
Kuhl has been trying a new minimally invasive way to treat kidney cancer.
It's called Y90 radioembolization. Fancy term for basically, we have these tiny beads. In fact, I can show a little vial here. They're tiny little glass spheres.
A catheter is inserted through the patient's groin.
We navigate that all the way up under X-ray until we get to the arteries supplying the kidney.
A water solution is pumped into the tubing, carrying the radioactive beads.
So then they travel along this catheter all the way through into the patient and then get delivered out the end of our catheter.
Directly to the tumor.
So the radiation will be slowly given over the course of about 2 to 3 weeks before it's really essentially bland. We have a lot of experience using this technology for treating liver cancers for about the last 20 years, and it's been really effective with very, very few in the way of side effects.
So far, Kuhl has done the procedure on 3 patients, and they're hoping to do a total of 16 as part of their trial. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
After nearly a year of efforts to stop the spread, Ontario's measles outbreak is officially over. Public Health Ontario says it made the declaration Monday following national guidelines. At that time, 46 days had passed since someone linked to the outbreak developed a rash. No new cases have been reported in recent weeks. The spread started last October, linked to someone who got measles in New Brunswick. Nearly 2,400 cases were reported in that time, with 165 requiring hospitalization. 95% of those patients were not immunized, most of them age 19 and under. And one baby died in southwestern Ontario after the mother was infected with measles and gave birth prematurely. Ontario's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Kieran Moore, confirming the measles outbreak is considered over, saying in part, while this marks an important milestone, measles remains a serious and highly contagious disease. I urge all Ontarians to ensure they and their families are up to date with their measles, mumps, and rubella vaccinations. 2 doses of the MMR vaccine offer nearly 100% protection and have been safely used for decades.
A new calendar up for grabs is offering a look through the lens of those living with Down syndrome. CTV's Ashley Bacon has a story of a showcase of images designed to send the message, I belong.
We were told that her life is not worth and to have an abortion. So coming from a doctor, it was a hard hit.
That was the reality Roxana Constantinesco and her family faced when they learned their daughter Ellie was born with Down syndrome. But just days after her birth, the Wellington Waterloo Down Syndrome Society reached out and invited her to a picnic.
We went and we saw people with Down syndrome from all ages, from a few months to 40, I believe, at that time, and then shortly after, like 6 months after, it was the calendar. So that's when we realized, wait a minute, there are so many people, so many stories.
Fast forward until today, and Ellie is thriving, an athlete who has starred in the annual calendar campaign for the last 11 years.
I
To be like on the calendar. It's my favorite place to be on.
It's not your average calendar. It's a visual voice for those living with Down syndrome.
For the last 11 years, we've used these photos to help shift perceptions and open conversations between our communities and people with Down syndrome.
The 2026 campaign is called I Belong.
Calls to action of how can I make someone with a disability truly feel like they belong instead of just inviting them to be a part of something.
The photos capturing lived experiences with participants, creating positive imagery.
I was an artist person, and Pop tell me I'm an artist, and I do a lot of sports.
When I do sports, I feel happy and included.
The calendars will be available through their website at a cost of $10, with less of a focus on fundraising and more of a focus on breaking stigmas.
It's more about getting the word out there and getting these beautiful calendars and these beautiful faces of the people in the calendars out into as many spaces in the community as possible.
The calendars will become available in November, and although there is no specific fundraising goal, the money raised will go to support those living with Down syndrome. Ashley Bacon, CTV News, Kitchener.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, Pat Foran talks to a Toronto man who lost $80,000 in a romance scam amid growing calls for banks to do more to protect customers. We're following breaking news this hour from below the border. Multiple people are dead after a powerful blast in Tennessee ripped through a military explosives manufacturing plant this morning. The blast occurred at Accurate Energy Systems, about 6 miles southwest of Nashville. Authorities say secondary explosions have prevented rescuers from approaching the site. The cause of the explosion is not yet known. Emergency crews have been unable to enter the plant due to ongoing detonations at the site. Local officials describe the incident as a tragedy for the community.
Romance scams continue to be more common in this country, and they're more likely to be linked to investment scams.
People looking for love are convinced to invest in cryptocurrencies, and so far this year, victims have lost more than $54 million. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
My separation, and it was also a traumatic experience, right?
Hugo Sanchez of Toronto says when his marriage ended last year, he was at an emotional low point. He turned to social media to try and find a friend.
I was very vulnerable. I was not in my best stage, and I did some internet surfing.
Sanchez says online he met a woman named Lena who claimed to live in Seattle. They struck up a friendship and even spoke by Zoom several times, but it was mostly texting, and within weeks she had convinced him to invest in cryptocurrencies. She claimed he would triple his money, but over time he was scammed out of $80,000.
I felt devastated. Obviously, it was the savings and also some money that I didn't have.
Sanchez is in his 40s, but many romance scam victims are seniors. Elaine Harnham met a man online and was scammed out of $20,000.
He fell in love with me when he seen my picture.
These scams are not small crimes. They're crimes of trust. They rob people of their savings. They rob them of their dignity and their trust in other people.
The Canadian Association of Retired Persons, CUPW, has been raising awareness of romance scams, grandparent scams, and investment fraud. It's calling for tougher criminal code penalties, mandatory fraud prevention at banks and telecoms, a trusted contact person program, victim recovery mechanisms, and a national coordination effort to share data. CUPW also feels banks must do more to prevent fraud.
If you lost $80,000 or $100,000, that money has been transferred out of your account using an electronic system that is run by the banks, and we think it's incumbent on the banks to play more of a role in protecting their clients.
Sanchez wanted to share his story to warn others.
This might be real. This might be something that makes sense, but at the end, everything was fake.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
YouTube is moving ahead with plans to welcome some previously banned users back onto its platform. This comes after the site removed some high-profile accounts a few years back for spreading misinformation about the 2020 presidential election and COVID-19. Lawyers for Google recently told Congress they'd let some creators who'd broken those rules return now that they're no longer in place. YouTube said not every type of termination will be eligible, though, for reconsideration.
As the Blue Jays advance to the next round of the playoffs, fans living near the Rogers Centre in Toronto say they have the best seats in town.
Some are taking in the action from their own balconies, while others say soaring ticket prices are keeping them out of the stands. CTV's John Woodward has the story.
It's a room with a view. This is what Abhishek Mahajan sees from his 32nd-story apartment overlooking the Rogers Centre, which comes in very handy on game nights, like the recent series where the Blue Jays vanquished the New York Yankees, propelling them to the American League Championship Series.
It's pretty fun.
It's up to Major League Baseball weather to keep that roof open, and last time the Jays made it this far, the roof was closed. What do you think they should do?
They should keep it open all the time.
Others broadcast their great view on social media, a view also enjoyed by one dogged fan. The people with these addresses never have to worry about the ticket prices, which are now rising on resale websites. 500 section, around $500, and as high as $2,700 closer to the field, frustrating some ticket holders.
That's ridiculous right now. It's kind of going out of hand.
Ken Oka shelled out for tickets to the upcoming series.
Game 1, I think I paid like $500, $600-ish. Yeah. Game 3, I was lucky enough to get in the queue and actually, buy it. The general admission price, I only paid $200 for the 500 level. But still, that's, I checked later again, and now even 500 levels are going for $700-800.
Worth it for him. He lives a little lower down and can't quite see the field. And there's a downside to watching the broadcast too close to the stadium.
It is a bit of an issue watching from here, though, because you get spoiled by the home run horn. So when someone's at bat and you're hoping that they hit something, you can kind of tell based on hearing people cheer or hearing the horn just before the play on TV.
Maybe that's one reason to get a ticket in the end. After all, it's a very short walk. It may not make financial sense to move down here just for the ticket prices. After all, one condo dweller told us his monthly rent is $3,500. John Woodward, CTV News.
That's one way to look at it. Drake's team says he's not ready to abandon a defamation suit against Universal Music Group over Kendrick Lamar's diss track, Not Like Us. That's despite a loss in court yesterday.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
Drake filed the suit in connection with his feud with Lamar. The Toronto artist had argued their shared label published and promoted Not Like Us, even though it included false allegations about the rapper, and suggested listeners should resort to vigilante violence. UMG denied the allegations, and a judge Thursday said the case couldn't proceed as the alleged libelous words could be deemed opinion. Representatives for Drake say he plans to appeal.
Coming up, a documentary on the life of a beloved Canadian comedian has dropped today. Details after the break.
The largest Lotto Max jackpot in Ontario's history has been claimed.
I checked it on the app, and I thought it said $75,000, which was awesome, until I realized there were a few more zeros. And then I looked again, and that's when it really hit me, that it was $75 million. First thing I said I got to do is I got to go tell my wife and share the news.
That's David Hatt, and he is filthy rich now. He recently stepped forward after winning $75 million in the August 19th draw. The Kingston man bought his ticket at the last minute on a whim. He says he and his wife immediately thought about how many people they can help with this money. They plan on giving back to the community and donating to charities. He also wants to buy a dream home for his family, see Europe, and play a few rounds of golf with maybe some new clubs.
Good ideas. A documentary celebrating the life of beloved Canadian comedian and actor John Candy is out today.
Who are you? I'm a Mog. Half man, half dog.
Gus Polinski, polka king of the Midwest.
Del Griffith, director of sales, shower curtain ring division.
This is a lovable guy.
John Candy, I Like Me, premiered at TIFF last month and drops today on Amazon Prime Video. The documentary traces the life and death of the SCTV star, whose big screen hits in the 80s and early 90s include Stripes, Splash, and Uncle Buck. It includes interviews with Bill Murray, Catherine O'Hara, Tom Hanks, Martin Short, Macaulay Culkin, and Eugene Levy. The film also includes input from Candy's widow and children, who say they welcome the chance to celebrate their dad and have an open conversation about mental health and grief. Can't wait to see it.
I know, everybody loved John Candy. It was definitely a big star back in the day. Weather-wise, take us into the weekend, Lindsay.
All right, well, the beginning of the weekend, we'll call that today, looks good. Then we get into a little bit of wet weather through the overnight hours tonight. So here's a look at what you can expect. It's not as cold as the last couple of nights. We're back in the double digits, 12 for the low. And then tomorrow, a bit of an unsettled Saturday, a bit of clouds, some showers, maybe some periods of rain, and 16 degrees for the high. Your Thanksgiving weekend, though, as a whole, not too bad. It's looking a little brighter into the day on Sunday. Still a bit of a question mark on Monday as to whether or not we could get some wet weather, but right now it looks pretty good. And there's the 7-day forecast. Lots of opportunities to get outside and enjoy, Nathan and Michelle.
For sure. Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.